Good morning, everybody, and welcome into the Farzy Show here at the Steven Singer Studios. My name is Marc Farzetta. Thanks for joining us this morning. We got Ben Simmons back in the conversation. Hey, that's fun. You know what else we have? We got an Eagles football game going on Sunday. Nick Sirianni addressed the media yesterday in full Phillies attire, and for whatever reason, it felt weird. It just felt weird. I don't mind the pandering, as some might say. I know that became a big subject point for a lot of you fine people on social media yesterday. I don't mind it a little bit. Pander away. I mean, it's funny. It's all about who does it. It's all about who can get away with doing it. Jason Kelce wears a Flyers jersey 2 years ago when they're in the bubble, trying to make it into the Eastern Conference Finals or whatever those finals were in the bubble. He does it, and it's great. It's grand. We all love it. He goes to a Flyers game with the Flyers jersey on, and he says, if you love Philadelphia Eagles, give me a hell yeah. That whole thing. We love it. Nick Sirianni shows up in Phillies gear. And I kind of had assistant to the regional manager vibes about it. That's just how I felt, but good for him. He's a Philadelphia now, according to him. So for all the people that love to lay claim and be very specific about that, who's a Philadelphian and who's not, have at it with the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles when it comes to his Philadelphia attire and saying he's from Philly. But anyway, I'm fine with it. When I first saw it, my first vibe was, okay, that's a lot. It's a lot going on there. Good for him for going over there to the, is it still the Majestic Pro Shop? I don't know. Jalen Hurts also addressed the media yesterday where he talked about what you could expect from this Philadelphia Eagles team this year. He didn't get into any specifics as far as that went, as most would say. As most would say something similar along the lines of it's not going to be a 10-win season, a 12-win season. No one's really going to say that. We're going to be undefeated. No, he just said that we want to play to the level in which we expect ourselves to play at. Can't really argue much with that. Good for him. He also got into the importance of being named captain of the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the captains named by his peers. And he said that he loves the idea of being a leader, and he loves the idea even more that his teammates look at him in that role, which I think is ultimately the most important thing. And the other night I did, it made me jump to something that I did with Larry Boa the other night. I was doing an interview, or I was doing a Q&A. I was hosting a Q&A for our friends over there at Overtime Promotions. And I was asking Larry Boa about leadership, and I asked him what we have talked about on this show so many times already. Reese Hoskins as a leader, Bryce Harper as a leader. And really it just comes down to the old adage of leaders aren't really coached up. Leaders aren't coached, they're born. So you have to be born a leader. No one can point to you and say, all right, you're the leader now. People have to identify you as a leader. That has to come from somewhere else. It's like, a lot of things that you get a moniker, you get a nickname, whatever it might be. That's going to come from other people. It can't come from you. Oh, yeah, by the way, call me T-Bone now. Yeah, call me T-Bone. You're not really a T-Bone guy. Aha, no, that's me. That's T-Bone, right? Yeah, you can't really do that. When it comes to Jalen Hurts, we'll let you hear from him coming up in just a minute. When it comes to all the things he had to say at his press conference yesterday, especially with being named a captain of the Philadelphia Eagles. But we're going to start it off with a conversation outside of the Phillies world, with a conversation outside the Eagles world, with a conversation that doesn't really touch much on the Flyers. 2 months ago, I was doing a show defending Ben Simmons. I was doing a show talking about 14 rebounds, 14 assists, unfortunately struggling from the foul line, but something that we knew about already about Ben Simmons' game. And what do you have, like 5 points in that game in the playoffs? I remember somebody even tweeting me after the game because Ben Simmons was the one doing the post-game interview on NBC Sports Philly, and somebody said, how does Zach Zumoff not ask him about, scoring no points, whatever? And I'm like, hold on. This was a game where Tobias Harris did this. This was a game where Joel Embiid did that. Ben Simmons still had a double-double in this game. It's not like he was completely invisible, and his defense was still there. He was helping out offensively. So why am I going to be pissed off when we know a guy that has a farthest thing from a skill-first mentality? Why am I going to be mad when he goes through his ultimate default, which is pass, rebound, facilitate? That's what he does. Why am I going to be mad now? First off, after a win, and why am I going to be mad now when other guys were off the charts like Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid? Why am I going to be pissed off about that? And I still feel going back, if I do that show, if I have a similar type of, if something plays out similarly, I'll do the same type of show. That's what I believe. And I'll look back on that game, because that was probably the last time I'll defend Ben Simmons. There is no defense for, if his behavior is true, if all this is pointing to he wants to be traded, he's not returning messages from the front office. And I guess there's actually one positive thing we could take from this clip I'm about to play for you, that he's not, that he's actually returning messages now, apparently. But Brian Windhorst was on The Jump yesterday. And I know some people said, oh, wait, is The Jump canceled? I thought The Jump was canceled. Jump's not canceled. Rachel Nichols was basically canceled. But the Jump is still going on. So I'm sitting here and I'm doing some work yesterday, and I'm sitting here in my office, the studio, the Steven Singer Studios, of course. And I usually just have sports on in the background, as I'm sure most of you guys do while you're doing it. Now I'm doing sports work. That's the difference. But I'm not really paying attention much to what's going on the TV. Glance up, look at the score, read the crawl, whatever. If they talk about the Sixers, then I'm all ears. Like, what was that? That kind of thing. And Brian Windhorst comes on and says this.
One of the messages that Ben has sent back towards Philly is that it's not his job to fix his trade value. It's not his job to correct his trade value or raise his trade value. That is not something that is on the menu for him. And so with that out there, I don't think he's interested in coming in and trying to change the situation. And one thing that I think is interesting is that his contract is structured in a way that he's going to get half of his money by October 1st. $16.5 million of his $33 million comes before he has to worry about getting fined a single dime for 41 of his games. So he's going to have a war chest and he can just sit this out.
I can't tell you enough, Philadelphia, when Ben Simmons comes back here with whatever team he's on, please, the most venomous, violent boo we can muster up as a fan base, please boo the hell out of Ben Simmons. And then obviously cheer him when we're going to get our many, many frosty freeze-outs. That's what I'm going to say. When he comes back here and he misses his free throws, give us the frosty freeze-outs. We got to get something out of this deal. If we're not going to get past the second round of the playoffs with Ben Simmons, then we better get some damn frosty freeze-outs. I want my frosty. All right, the fat kid in me is done speaking. Now, in all seriousness, when it comes to everything with Brian Windhorst, I know some people have a tendency not to believe Windhorst when he starts talking in general. I happen to like Brian Windhorst, but I will say this. I always try to consider the source and who the source is connected to. In this case, the source is Brian Windhorst. The people giving him information is Clutch Sports. Clutch Sports is LeBron James. Brian Windhorst is LeBron James' camp. Ifto facto, connect the dots. This is information coming from Clutch Sports. Now, notice the beginning part of this conversation. Just one more time. Listen to that.
One of the messages that Ben has sent back towards Philly is that...
One of the messages Ben has sent back towards Philly. Not necessarily he is texting with Philly front office, the Philly front office, the Sixers front office, but he sent it back towards them, which just lets me think that it's all about the agent. It's all about the agent. Because he texted Daryl Morey. One of the things he texted Elton Brand. It's not what he texted Doc Rivers. It's what made its way back. So it really, for me, at least alludes to the idea that it didn't come directly from Ben Simmons. And you hear how Brian Windhorst is kind of stumbling around in that. He's trying to word it properly because I don't think he wants to really go against any other report that's been out there that is most likely true that Ben just ain't talking to the front office now. And if this is about, first off, this is what pissed me off so much when Joel Embiid said what he said about y'all fans got to be better, because people directly associated that with Ben Simmons, and that's what just drove me crazy. And that's not the case at all. What this comes down to is Joel Embiid coming out after the Sixers lost to the Hawks in Game 7 and said, yeah, I think the turning point in the game was when we had that dunk with about 3:30 left in the fourth quarter, and we passed up on it and we missed some free throws. Everybody knew what he was doing. It was Ben Simmons and the pass to Thibault, as we've talked about a million times already. Then Doc Rivers also addresses the media, and he gets asked if you can win a championship with Ben Simmons, and Doc Rivers is like, you got me. I don't know if I can win with Ben Simmons. That's probably what Ben is pissed about, more so than any fan. The fact that he was also almost dealt for James Harden, that's what he's probably pissed about. Even though if you're an NBA player and somebody says, hey, we're thinking about trading you for James Harden, I'm thinking I'm pretty damn good. It's not, hey, Ben, so we were on Twitter, okay? And there was this guy, Hank in the Northeast. And Hank in the Northeast said that you need to be traded for a rack of basketballs. And we're just really considering doing it. We're trying to be professional, so we want to give you the heads up that when you see an extra rack of basketballs here, or at least on the way in while you're on your way out, I just don't want you to be surprised, okay? All right, we just don't want you to be surprised. James Harden's a compliment if you're getting traded for James Harden there, Ben Simmons. But the thing that's probably a little bit harder to take is, without question, the idea of your teammates saying you're the reason they lost or that they can't win with you. That's the bigger issue in all of this. No doubt. That's the bigger issue in all of this. But as far as the line, it's not my job to increase my trade value or fix my trade value. Let me just, I don't like addressing people that don't get it because I don't want to talk down to the people that do get it, but for the people that don't, there's a lot of people that responded to, because I tweeted out that video yesterday. There was a lot of people that said, but Ben's right. It's not his job. Okay. It's not his job to get on the phone and sell himself and get a trade. That we can agree on. However, it quite literally is his job to increase his trade value. You know why? Because if you're increasing your trade value, that means you're improving as a basketball player. And if you're not decreasing your trade value, that means you're not sucking. That means you're not playing terrible. That means you're not choking in a huge situation in Game 7 in the playoffs against a 5 seed. That means you're not belittling or dwindling your trade value. So, yeah, Ben, it definitely 100% beyond a shadow of a damn doubt is your job to fix your trade value. It's also your job not to get it this low either. So, yes, although for the people that want to take it real literal, Ben's not supposed to be on the phone calling people and trying to increase his trade value. No kidding. Seriously? Of course that's not his job. It is his job, though, to make sure he's as valuable as possible. And this is the problem. This is the issue the Sixers have with him, as we well know now from the things that they said after the Game 7 loss to the Hawks, when Doc Rivers, I just alluded to, and Joel Embiid, I just alluded to. That is obviously the stuff that's the forefront of everyone's mind. But when it comes to Ben Simmons, and it comes to what he needs to do from this point going forward, he needs to be a better basketball player. And that's not going to happen here in Philadelphia. You know what's going to suck? He's going to come back to Philadelphia. He's going to drop 50. You know he's going to do it. You know he's going to shoot threes. You know he's going to shoot free throws. And I'll be like, yeah, this is the idea. This is the whole thing. This is what we wanted you to do. And we've been asking for this for every single year he's been in the league, to just take a step forward as a basketball player. The thing that worried me the most, and I've said this before, but the thing that worried me the most about Ben Simmons coming into the 76ers, being drafted by the 76ers, taken number 1 overall, I knew how good he was, I knew how good he could be. And people are like, he doesn't really care that it's college. He's doing a family favor. He just doesn't really care. I bought into it, and I believed it because they're right. He really didn't care. But when he gets to the NBA, it'll be different. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. He's only interested in the NBA, so that makes sense, right? And then I thought about it, and I was like, hold on. The Sixers are doing a lot of losing to get to the point that they're at right now for Ben Simmons. He's going to be worth it, right? He's going to be worth being a part of this whole process, because the last thing I want to do is do a lot of losing and then draft someone who doesn't give a damn. And that's where I feel we're at. And most people, I think, would agree that's where we're at right now with Ben Simmons. You never want to look at the guy you're about to take number 1 overall and see him not really give a damn about basketball as you did when he was at LSU. Now, I'm not saying I watched him then and said, nope, I'm not taking him at number 1. Forget it. And you never want to see that guy play for your team. The other option at the time was Brandon Ingram, right? And I really like Brandon Ingram. I loved the shooter. Most people loved the shooter. But when it came to who you're going to take, it was Ben Simmons. Man, watching him at LSU, he's the exact same player we watch now. I remember showing you guys the shot chart Of the 42-point game, I want to say it was, he had at LSU, every single point was in the paint at LSU. Every single point. So people say, oh, he shot in college or he shot in high school. Yeah, did he? Like high school, maybe. I haven't seen too many shot charts from his days down in Florida, but LSU, it was all inside the paint. And he is the exact same player. And he could be so damn good. He could be an MVP time and time again, at least in the conversation, time and time again, if he just shot a basketball and hit his free throws. He's that good a basketball player. But guess what? He's fine with being a defensive player of the year candidate. But that's not necessarily going to make you the guy that's going to be one of the focal points of any basketball team. You got to bring your offense along with it. And that's where we haven't seen any improvement from him. And when we hear it's not my job, well, it was kind of your job to dunk that basketball. And it's definitely your job to make sure that you're at the highest value you could possibly be at all times, just by meaning you're the best basketball player you could be at all times. He doesn't want it. Ben Simmons, to me, is a guy that is a classic case of loving what basketball brings him, but not loving what he can give back to the game. And I think we have seen that enough over his time here in Philadelphia. And now that time is coming to an end. I hope it happens sooner rather than later. I don't know what the Sixers can get back from him. I'm still hoping, because I think it's the best way the Sixers can get top dollar for him. I'm hoping he is back in Philadelphia. It's the best possible way to make this, to get the best return from him. But, man, I ain't going to like seeing him in a Sixers uniform. I just know that they're not going to get top dollar for him right now. And that's the business part of it. I'm hoping he comes back just so they can get more for him. But if I never have to see him in a Sixers uniform again, I'll also be fine with that. And I'll take an L if it means getting a little bit less for him not coming back, or for him, selling him at his lowest value. I'll take an L right now just to get him the hell out of Philadelphia. You don't, and here's the win in all of it. You don't want that mindset around these players anymore. You don't want that mindset, because it is a piss poor mindset from Ben Simmons if what Brian Windhorst is saying is true. And again, going back to the Clutch Sports connection, yeah, I would say it's pretty true. And by the way, who the hell's negotiating a contract when the guy gets half his deal before he even has to play a game? Come on. Anyway, I look forward to reading your comments about Ben Simmons. And I didn't even mention our guest today. What the hell's the matter with me? Quinton Michael, former Eagles safety, will be joining the show today to talk some Eagles football. I said I'd let you hear this. I want to let you hear it right now. So Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts addressed the media yesterday. Nick Sirianni addressed the media. I'll let you see the picture if you haven't seen it yet, him in his Phillies gear. But Jalen Hurts was asked about the honor of being a captain. Here's one of the Eagles captains, talking about being a leader on the team.
It means the world. It means the world. It's a tremendous honor. I obviously seeing the guys before me that have been captain. And growing up as a kid, you see captains, and you see the C on the chest, and you see all of those things, and it exemplifies more than that. It exemplifies the hard work that goes into it, the relationships you build with your teammates, a whole bunch. So for everybody to grant me that and allow me to lead and do those things, I'm excited, and I don't take it lightly.
Look, the more I get to know Jalen Hurts from the player's mindset and all that, the more I like Jalen Hurts. I will say that. I'm really rooting for a guy that seems to be all there mentally, and certainly seems to be all there skill set wise. It's just a matter of whether or not this guy can win football games for the Eagles, and I really haven't been this eager probably since the first game of Carson Wentz. I haven't been this eager to watch quarterback play and make his debut in quite some time, because I think Jalen Hurts can play at an electric level. It's a matter of whether or not he's going to be able to put it together with Nick Sirianni as his head coach. One thing that came out recently with Nick Sirianni, he said in an interview, I think it was a one-on-one interview he did on the Eagles website, how are you going to call plays for Jalen Hurts? And I loved his answer, because his answer is exactly what a really good head coach will do, or a really good play caller will do, or a really good game planner will do. He said if he likes a play, and Sean Steichen, their offense coordinator, likes a play, and Brian Johnson, their quarterback coach, likes a play, but Jalen Hurts doesn't like the play, they're not going to call that play. They're not going to run that play. They're probably going to work on it and practice a little bit more, but in terms of game time situations, they're not going to call that play. They're going to make sure their quarterback is as comfortable as possible. Good and bad of that. The good is the obvious. It's coaching to what you have. Oh, this guy's not good at that yet. He's not comfortable with that yet. We're not running it. We're going to run it later, whatever it might be. The bad, the negative, if you want to go that route, is thinking about what Carson Wentz did with that power. And the reports that came out about him wanting to change plays, him wanting to check out of runs, go to a pass play, him kind of wanting to do his own type of thing under Doug Peterson, and even in a way, Frank Reich. That's where you might have some issues, because then you start putting yourself in a corner. If a quarterback isn't necessarily optimistic or confident in a particular play call and it might make him look bad, will he check out of it? You do want a quarterback that's willing to take a couple of risks in a game and trust his head coaches that this is the play to call at this exact moment. Trust his play caller. This is the right play at the right time. Let's execute this play. And hopefully Jalen will have that famous swagger that he has already, and he'll have enough confidence to call that play. But just hearing Nick Sirianni talk about it in that way, it did give me a little bit of comfort that they're not just going to try to, square peg, round hole something when it comes to Jalen Hurts and horseshoeing him into any type of play call that they could use. So I thought that was actually an optimistic thing when I read that the other day. Let's get a little bit more Eagles conversation coming up here with our friend Quinton Michael, who does a phenomenal job, by the way, with Inside the Birds. Does his own podcast, does his own show once a week with Jason Avant. So make sure you're subscribing to the Inside the Birds family when it comes to that, because he'll just give you some great inside information, not just about days past, but today's team as well. And he'll do that with us just in a couple of minutes. But right now, let me tell you about my friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Looking to get engaged? Question mark? Head to Steven Singer Jewelers. It's just that simple. He couldn't make it easier for you. You walk into Steven Singer Jewelers right there at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. And you know what he's got? He's got Ready for Love diamond engagement rings that, guess what, are ready for love. You just walk in. Oh, you're getting engaged? Boom. You want the express? What do you like? Oh, you like that? Okay. We'll take it in the back, get it ready for you. Or you have something a little bit more personal, something a little bit different in mind. A real jewelry expert will walk you through everything to make sure you get what you want. And the person you love, the person you're popping the question to, their eyes pop out of their head when you pop the question with how beautiful and how sparkly, how gorgeous these diamonds are from Steven Singer Jewelers. And guess what? If you're nervous about the price, if you're nervous about, okay, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to haggle, I'm going to get them down big time here, man. I'm going to get that. Not at Steven Singer, you don't have to worry about that. Beautiful diamonds, high quality diamonds, real jewelry experts walking through everything, making you feel comfortable, and no haggling. Everything set at the perfect price every single time. Also, so when you walk in there, you know your eyes not going to pop out. The price, because it's at the perfect price every single day. No promo codes, no discounts, no nothing. Now, if you want to tell them Farzy sent you, by all means, tell them. But you don't need to do that, because every single day you're getting the perfect price at Steven Singer Jewelers. The other corner of 8th and Walnut, right in Philadelphia, or online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Keep the comments coming, people. Keep the comments coming. We got a lot to get to when it comes to Ben Simmons today, and it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. But let's jump in with our good friend Quinton Michael from Inside the Birds and the Q&A show with him, as well as Jason Avant as he joins us on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. And joining us right now on the Rothman Orthopaedics, making his second appearance on the Farzy show. You know him from the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously, but you also know him more recently from the Q&A podcast that he does on the Inside the Birds network, along with former Eagles wide receiver Jason Avant. Quinton Michael joins us. What's up there, Q?
What's up, Marc? How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
Of course, man. Looking forward to catching up with you again here. And I do have to ask you this. The last time we spoke was a couple of months back. I believe it was March, according to our text chain. And you would say that you're excited about getting into this whole like talk show thing and talking about your career and football right now. How are you enjoying your intro to broadcasting?
Oh man, it's been a lot of fun. I've learned a ton, but at the end of the day, it really feels like me and Jason are just kind of in the locker room, just reminiscing and just like old times and talking about the old days, the current Eagles, old Eagles, what we expect. So it's a lot of fun, man, and it's really therapeutic in a lot of ways, because you get to kind of get some things off my chest as a former player and a current Eagles fan. Frustrations from back when we playing all the way up to now. So it's really, really a lot of fun. And it's cool because we get the coolest part is that we get to kind of say it and say it how we want, do it how we want, and just have fun with it. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I've caught a bunch of episodes from you guys. You guys definitely speak your mind. And one of the things I really appreciate, because sometimes ex-athletes will start doing this, and they'll just force a story in there. They'll try to wedge a story. Oh, this is kind of like, and then you're listening to it as a non-athlete, someone who like me who peaked in 8th grade athletically, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, that story doesn't fit at all. But you guys are such great storytellers, and you have ways of working those stories in, so it makes it not only enjoyable but informative for the listening audience as well. So I appreciate you guys doing that, and kudos to you guys for doing that. You guys do a new podcast every week. Once again, part of the Inside the Birds network. I do want to start off with this with you. We were talking a lot about the Eagles defense just yesterday, so I figure who better to talk to than Quinton Michael himself. I can't help it. My impressions of Jonathan Gannon in the early goings here, Q, have been that he's going to be an aggressive defensive coordinator, not just a guy that's going to look aggressive after Jim Schwartz was here, but a guy that might be a little bit more on the side of Jim Johnson, not saying prestige-wise, just saying game plan-wise on Jim Johnson than it would be Jim Schwartz. What do you see?
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. Obviously, he's a little bit part of that tree. I mean, it's a very similar defense to Jim's defense. So Zimmer's defense is very, very similar to Jim Johnson's defense, and so I was expecting, especially early on, to see very similar, blitz schemes, different types of coverages, quarters coverage, half coverage, stuff like that. So it was a little bit. I would say I was a little bit disappointed early on in the preseason. I know that they didn't want to show, again, probably didn't want to show a whole lot of his defense. And so I'm looking forward to this game one, hopefully seeing some of that creativity that I know is inherent in that defense. And so my early impressions, especially early on, I'm like, man, this is the guy we need. Like, he's fired up. He's smart. He's intelligent. And then, we get to the preseason and I'm like, where's all the creativity, right? So I'm hoping that game one, we get to see a ton of that stuff. So that's my mindset this week.
That's interesting. When you were playing, I know everyone says vanilla, not going to show the cards and that whole thing, but did you guys ever give a little taste? Not just for the people watching at home, or so somebody else would have something on film around the league, or if not just for the players themselves to understand the exact scheme and the goal of what the defense is going to try to do throughout the season. Would there be a little taste of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one thing that we talked about is at some point the players on the field are going to eventually need to be asked to do these blitz schemes in a real life situation. So, under Jim Johnson and Sean McDermott, like our playbook was literally like this big, right? And out of that right there, I would say this much of it was probably coverages. The rest of it was blitzes, right? So it seemed like an unlimited amount of blitzes. And so we did pull those out in the preseason. But what we did show was not even a quarter of what was available, right? So, and each week, even if we did show a blitz, each week we had a different package for a different team. So, we had tons upon tons of blitzes and schemes and different stuff. And it was really a lot of fun as a secondary player to play in that defense.
Now, when you do look at this defensive line, you shouldn't be expecting a lot of blitzing, over the top blitzing, simply because this defensive line is pretty stacked right now. So I'll ask you this as a guy who is a defensive back, as a guy who is a safety, obviously, in the league for a lot of years. Do you look at this defensive line as being good enough to really help out anybody that might be learning on a curve, like a guy like Zach McPherson, for instance? Will it be the start of the show basically be the secondary, or will it be that defensive line?
Oh, absolutely. This defensive line is one of the best in the league. And the mindset, like I'm not of the mindset that just because you have a stellar defensive line that you don't need the blitz. I do think that there's a lot of good that can come from different blitz schemes that will help our front, that will help those guys in certain situations. So even though these guys are top notch, even though they're phenomenal players, I still think that we need, and I hope that we bring more blitzes and more different coverages and kind of, just try to confuse the quarterback. It's tough to line up in one coverage and just play it the entire game and just expect your front forward to just dominate the entire game, right? So I'm looking forward to different schemes, different blitz schemes, even though we have the best D-line. I personally think top to bottom, this is one of the top 5 defensive lines in the league. So, yeah.
I'd agree with you on that. I'm looking forward to seeing them play on Sunday against Falcons. Now, we talked about Jonathan Gannon. I do want to swing it over to the offensive side of things, and the head coach of this football team, Nick Sirianni, came out in all his Phillies attire today. I don't know if you saw that, trying to support the team. At the time we taped this, the Phillies are down 3-1. So that's fun.
Oh, no.
Yee. So when it comes to Nick Sirianni, offensively speaking, what have you seen that you like? And also just as him as a leader of men as a head coach, what are you making of him so far?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm not gonna lie. When he first kind of came on, I'm like, I don't know about this guy. But the more I listened to him, and the more I kind of saw his mindset and how he was all about competition, and that at every single turn we were trying to get the best out of each player. I was really, kind of, I was loving that part of it, right? And so, you go into the games, and then I think it was tough because I think the second preseason game when Hurts got sick, I think that was the game where we probably were going to see a little bit more of what he was about as a coach and what that scheme is going to be about. And then unfortunately, Hurts got injured, but he got the sickness, he had to go to the hospital. And so for me personally, just going into the season, I've been really impressed with just how he's handled himself. I would like to see, the things that I've seen that I like are he's about running the ball, he's about getting the ball out quick. He's going to take some chances, and he's going to just rely on his players and let them make the plays instead of necessarily forcing the scheme on a certain player. He looks like he's going to adapt his offense based on what he has, and that's really what you want as an offensive coordinator, as an offensive head coach. And so I'm very excited for this game, and I think he's going to do just fine.
When it comes to not playing in the preseason, I have to ask you this as a former player. It's just one of the things that's been baffling to me is competition. But not in a game. At practice, we'll practice competing, and that to me just doesn't make sense. Again, as a guy that peaked in 8th grade, Q, that just still doesn't make sense to me. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, that was one of the things that I did not like about the training camp, and I'm assuming that it more had to do with the inter squad practices, which we didn't really do a whole lot of when I was a player. And so for me, the games are where you compete, and practice is where you learn. And so I was, it's just it's a different way to look at it. It's a different experience. It's a different way to go about things. And so, obviously time will tell when it comes to that. But I do think that the competition was good. I just wish that maybe, even though we only had 2.5, you call it 3 preseason games, but really it's more like 2.5. I do think that you can't just say that those don't matter and it's all about practice, right? It's still a game time situation. It's still a game-like situation. It's a dress rehearsal. So I still think there's a lot of importance on those games. And so I was a little bit disappointed in that, but time will tell if it, how we'll adjust to that in the future.
Could you ever picture Andy Reid coming out in full Phillies attire?
No. There was one year where T.O. was on the team and he made a bet. I forget what the bet was, but I think it was something, if we won the game or if we scored enough touchdowns, he was going to come out in the spandex that T.O. used to wear. And he made the bet. I remember Andy making that bet, but thank God he never paid up on it.
I want to say that was the Super Bowl year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I want to say that was
Super Bowl.
Was it 14? I think the record for touchdowns in a season was 14. Wow, I can't believe I remember this off the top of my head. And T.O. said, or he came out in the tights, and Reid said, "You can't wear tights. It's against league or team policy." And he's like, "If you scored 14 touchdowns, I'll wear the tights, though."
Yeah.
And then he got hurt against Dallas. Roy Williams, damn it. Anyway, all right, how are you feeling in general? You got Jalen Hurts now taking over as the lead quarterback, the number one guy, QB1, as they like to say nowadays. How do you like Jalen Hurts, and what are you expecting to him? What are you expecting him to do this year? Is how you say that.
Yeah. So when I look at a quarterback, I look at a couple things, and the first thing to me is how are you under pressure? How poised are you when things aren't going great? How do you react to it? I look at how the players react to you. Can you lead them? Do they follow you? Do they surround you? Do they protect you? If you get knocked on your butt, are they going to, the linemen, are they going to turn around and fight for you and get the guy up off of you? So I look at those. And so from that standpoint, you can tell he's a guy that the team surrounds him, the team supports him, the team has his back, right? So that's number one. And then I look at him as a player. He's a phenomenal athlete. He's a very intelligent player. He can make all the throws. He can drop back and throw it. He can drop back and run. So in my eyes, he's like the perfect fit for what this team needs right now and what this city needs right now. Now, will he get the time to develop into what he can be? Is obviously that's what we're still kind of trying to figure out right now. But I think I'm I'm putting all my chips in behind Jalen Hurts. I believe in him. I think that he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback for a long time in this league. I just think that he needs to make sure that he does not press too much and he does not try to do more than he should. Just let the game come to you. If coach tells you to hand the ball off 10, 20, 30 times a game, that's what we're going to do, right? And then we go from there. And so he's a young quarterback. He's got a lot to learn, but so far I've been happy with what I've seen from him.
One of the things I'm looking forward to seeing is him continue to mature as a quarterback, as I think every Eagles fan is. But I can't help but think about the future. I know he can't think about the future, but I can't help think about the future, saying, man, if I'm in his shoes, how do you not think about? How do you distract yourself from the idea that you're not just competing against the team in front of you, you're not just competing against any other quarterback in the quarterback room right now with the Philadelphia Eagles, but you're competing against next year's free agency class. You're competing basically with anybody that could be playing quarterback next year for the Eagles, including 3 potential first-round picks. As an athlete, how do you stay focused on the task at hand?
Yeah, so and I don't think very many quarterbacks would be as good at this as him this early in his career. But the fact that he dealt with so much adversity at Alabama, starting off on the highest of highs, and then leading his team to undefeated championships, and then all of a sudden Tua comes in, championship game, he doesn't play a great first half, he gets benched, and then Tua starting in. So if you look at his storyline, just everything from Alabama, everything he's went through, going back to a new school, going to Oklahoma, competing there, winning the job, going. So I just think that everything that he's experienced and went through has kind of built him up to the point of where he's at now. And so I don't think that this is anything new to him. And I think he's definitely built for this competition. He's definitely built for this city. And he's the kind of player that can just block everything out, focus on what he needs to focus on, and go play ball. And that's really what you need in a city like this at quarterback, Mm-hmm. So he's very, very strong, very independent. And, the only thing that he doesn't have is the experience. And so with that time, I think he's going to develop into a great player.
When it comes to playing in front of fans like this in Philadelphia, I'm always curious to ask athletes this perspective. If somebody's coming here and they call you up and they say, Quinton Michael, hey, man, I just got traded to the Eagles, or I'm coming to Philly for a tryout or something, what can you tell me about playing in front of the fans? How do you describe this fan base to incoming athletes?
I would say the fan base they're the most unique fan base in all of the NFL. They're going to love you, and you do well, they're going to love you to death. They're going to treat you like a king. And if you don't do too well, you're going to know about it.
It's not going to be hidden.
Soon. It's not going to be hidden at all, right? They wear their heart on their sleeves. And, and that's really how it should be. Fans, they pay their good hard money to support the team, and they want to see winners. And not only just, not just winners, but guys that kind of embody the city, the blue collar mentality, guys that go out there and work and aren't prima donnas and just go out there and do whatever they can to try to get a win. So that's what I would tell everyone that's coming in here. And definitely no talking trash to fans, because that only goes one way, and it's never a good thing. So just, if you get booed, okay, then do better next time. So that's it.
I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. When it comes to this Eagles team doing well, what do you think? What do you think about the Philadelphia Eagles in the 2021 season? What are you feeling there, the new 17-game schedule there, Quinton?
Yeah, this team is really interesting to me, because they're very, very explosive at the receiver position, but they're still young. The running game, Miles Sanders, Scott, like the running game, I think is going to be very well. The offensive line, if everyone's healthy, they'll be fine, right? They're going to be one of the top in the league. Tight end position is one of our better positions. So I really feel like offensively and defensively now, our defensive line is phenomenal. Our secondary is, it's kind of up and down. We got some older guys in there and some younger guys kind of mixed in. Our linebacking core has always kind of been like the part of the team that's never really been addressed. So I'm a little worried about the linebacker position. But I think overall, I think this team is going to surprise a lot of people. If the offensive line stays healthy, the defensive line dominates, if the secondary can play smart enough to not give up big plays, and our receivers just come along at the rate that we're expecting them to come along, I think we're going to have a much better season than people are giving us credit for. I saw a story that said that the Eagles are, I think, ranked at 31 or 32 or maybe 30 out of 32 teams in the league in terms of players or whatever. So
I think I know your power rankings. I think there were 28. I think there were 28.
Oh, was it 20? I thought I saw 30.
If we might have both seen a list, and that's not uncommon this time of year. The one I saw was power rankings. I think had it at 28.
Yeah. Okay. So even that, like, I think that's way, way too low for this team. Now, I know we weren't so great last year, and we had a lot of injuries and stuff. But if you look at this team, just top to bottom, we don't have a lot of depth. But if you look at this team top to bottom, if everyone stays healthy, I think I could see us being, 9-10 win team this year. Looking at our schedule, there's a couple games that are going to be tough, but there's some games that we're probably going to win that we shouldn't win if everybody plays the way they're supposed to.
I'm really crossing my fingers for the double digits, and it all comes down to really a lot of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
because we don't know how good he can be. On the flip side of that, we don't know how bad he can be. But if this guy can come in here and be, I hate to use the word the savior or the guy that can rally the troops, whatever you want to say, then so be it. I'd love to see that happen here in Philadelphia with a young quarterback that does have his skill set, because that is one exciting skill set. Quinton Michael, thank you so much, man. Make sure you check out Quinton Michael and Jason Avant, the Q&A podcast, the Q&A show as part of the Inside the Birds network. Quinton, thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate you coming on.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Quinton Michael joining us on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. My thanks to Quinton Michael for joining the show. Make sure you guys check him out, Inside the Birds podcast, as well as his Q&A show with Jason Avant, former Eagles wide receiver. Those guys, they really do. They break it down great for anybody at home. They break it down great for anybody who is looking for that kind of inside scoop of what it's like to be a professional athlete, the stories they tell, how they relate to today's team and everything. It's nothing short of spectacular. Highly recommend pretty much everything Inside the Birds puts out, especially Q&A. You guys hear from Jeff Mosher and Adam Kaplan all the time. Both have been on the show multiple times. And Quinton Michael and Jason Avant do a great job with their podcast. So I appreciate Quinton coming on with us. He's coaching his son's football team right now. I saw some people in the comments talking about how they need him as a coach here. I would have put it past him. You know what he does? He's like Nick Sirianni. The guy loves ball. Before we go any further, let me tell you about the people that bring us that fine guest line. All our guests, that would be Rothman Orthopaedics. Ladies and gentlemen, when you have the orthopedic issues you need a physician who eats, sleeps, and breathes orthopedics. You need an exceptionally specialized Rothman Orthopaedics physician. They not only specialize in orthopedics, each of their physicians only focuses in on one area of the body, which means you can have the confidence to get past the pain and be what you were. Visit them in one of their 30-plus locations in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, including 4 orthopedic-only issues. Learn more at RothmanOrtho.com. That's RothmanOrtho.com. How about our friends over at BetQL, one of the new sponsors this week of Farzy? Actually, we got a new sponsor joining us a little bit later in the show, as a matter of fact, or at least I'll be telling you about the new sponsor coming up in a minute. But BetQL joined us earlier this week. Welcome aboard BetQL. And here's what they do. If you want the advantage over your sports book, do a little research with BetQL. It's a great thing. I use it for show prep as well, not just for my bets, but to give you guys some fine information. Best bets computer model that they have over there at BetQL. They scan over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you the best recommendation for every game across all major sports. And they also give you reasoning behind why you should place that particular bet. Their model covers everything from point spreads, over-unders, and player prop bets. Don't want to use the model and prefer to use your own research? Where BetQL can also give you the necessary tools to do that research on your bet. If you want to make the educated bet, you use BetQL. Everything from sharp data, line movement, team summaries as well, lineup inquiries, breaking news, all that. Use the leaderboards as well with BetQL. Head to the App Store right now or Google Play and make sure you use BetQL. Download the BetQL app right now and make sure you take advantage of all they have to offer. How about our friends at Steak and Maine? If you need a fine meal, head to Northeast Maryland from Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. They will provide one beautiful, delicious, succulent steak. The Pinot Noir, the Cavada Cellars wine, Pinot Noir, my man Tony Cavada, who owns the joint, runs the joint as well, heart and soul into that place. Make sure you take advantage of all they're offering when it comes to a beautiful steak, comes to a succulent steak, fine sushi, prime meats, fresh seafood, and Cavada Cellars wine from his family to you. Open every day for lunch, dinner, Sunday brunch. Steak and Maine in Northeast Maryland, voted #1 place for steaks in America by the Cooking Channel and the Travel Channel. Check it out for yourself. Go to steakandmaine.com. Welcome in, brand new sponsor, WinView. If you guys don't know about WinView, make sure you guys download this app as well. The only game where fans can take other fans. That's right. You can take on other fans and end the debate once and for all on all of the big sports topics. You can have friends, family sign up as well, and you guys can debate. You guys can play games on WinView. Play them in a WinView contest and have them walk the walk, not just talk the talk. If you want to break up the monotony of family dinners and get-togethers, then you need WinView. That's right. Play during a quarter of Monday Night Football. You can play during a quarter of Sunday Night Football, put a little skin in the game. It's the perfect way to add an extra layer of competition to your fantasy football league as well. A little side action, if you will. While you're tracking the games on Sunday, make sure you're using the WinView app, and you make sure that if your team isn't killing it, you're jumping on another team to try to win yourself a couple of bucks in a friendly contest amongst you and a fan. It's not a sports book, not daily fantasy. It's something different. It's something fun. It's a social gaming app where you can win real money prizes for making predictions on the games you love. So make sure you do what I do. Download the WinView app right now. Also want to tell you and say I hope that you're all following the all the sports conversation going on with PHL Sports Nation. That's Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. PHLSportsNation.com. Now let's go to our social media check-in brought to you by Steak and Maine and SteakandMaine.com. I'm going to skip over one comment in particular because I want to get to it a little. I want to give it its proper time. But I want to check in. April's checking in, saying good morning. Good morning, April. Dan, what's up, Dan? Hey, Quinton Michael played at Boise State. How about that? Mally's checking in. Good morning, Mally. Mac, what's going on, Mac? Broads, what's up, Broads? Let's see, April. Wait, still a 6 on the emo scale? This shirt? Really? Nobody emo would wear this shirt. Come on now. Mac's back. Wait, April, you peep that? What are we peeping? Like Steve Buscemi wearing his hat backwards with a skateboard? Mac, is that what you're saying? Are we saying I'm hanging on to my youth? I forfeited that when I shaved my head. The good thing about being bald and shaving your head, I'll tell you this much. This is what's good about it. I'll look like this for, I don't know, I got another 10 years with this look. I got another 10 years with this look. I'm just going to get text from producer Jim saying, you might want to just skip the entire chat. We'll see. Let's see. That's a good point. Dan, that's so seeing. Okay, I haven't hit this yet. I was going to get to it in our morning rush, but let me get to it now for Dan's comment here. This is Nick Sirianni yesterday talking about the quarterback room and his relationship with his quarterbacks, most notably Jalen Hurts.
No, I'm in every quarterback meeting. I'm in every offensive meeting, and running quarterback meetings. We kind of run quarterback meetings a little different. Like Brian has a part that he runs, Shane's has a part that he runs, and then I have a part that I run when we're talking about the plays that we're running that week, and when we're watching the film. So, it's just like you kind of like when you're in all those meetings, the quarterback meetings go longer, right? I mean, there's a schedule that's out and it says, hey, this quarterbacks or the team goes from here to here. Quarterback meetings go longer. They start earlier, they go longer. That's just the way it is, and we're in there the whole time. So part of you with the quarterback, you have no choice but to grow closer, right? It's like you get closer just because of the time that you spend with them. But we're also obviously, and I joke about that because I'm saying Jalen. Jalen has to be close to me because I'm in those meetings with him all the time. But no, and it's just other ways to do that. Like it's important that we don't just have a football relationship, right?
I think a lot of successful relationships. I mean, it could be both ways. You guys could hate each other and then somehow still bring the best out of each other, or you could have a great glowing relationship and still bring the best out of each other. It is important that there's some kind of relationship aside from just do this, do that, all right? Or I'm not comfortable with this, I'm not comfortable with that. Like there has to be, like outside of football relationship, there's got to be a little something. All right, that's good. I find that positive. But what about what he's wearing, folks? Bring that back one more time.
No, I'm in every quarterback meeting.
Like the hoodie, okay. The hat, okay. The hat and hoodie together, little much. I'm just saying that's probably more Phillies attire that even I would wear at a Phillies game. I like to go with the understated, not even the understated. Like I've told you about my rule on jerseys. Like I don't wear a jersey of anybody that's younger than me. Like that's my rule. That's why all my jerseys are throwbacks. Hey, you do you. as long as you're not wearing your own name on the back of your jersey. No, don't do that. That's a rule. All right. But when it comes to another player's jersey, I don't wear anyone that I'm younger yet. Then that's my only rule. That's me personally. I'm not telling you how to live your life. That's just me personally. But even that, that's a little much. The hoodie, the hat, that's a lot going on there. It's like, does he work for the Phillies? No. Again, it was like assistant to the regional manager vibes I got from Nick Sirianni yesterday. Everything he said, fine. Just what he was wearing, a little much. And Dan was pointing that out in the comment section, and I want to make sure that I gave that to you fine people. The Ben Simmons conversation as well. So Ben Simmons was born the leader of irrelevant Instagram posts while being completely disconnected from reality. Dan, I think you also say later in the comments about how Ben doesn't have a job then because it seems like his only real job is to pass. Here's Ben Simmons' job. I'm from now on going to refer to Ben Simmons as Instagram model. Instagram model Ben Simmons, who happens to play for the Sixers as of right now. That's all. Instagram model Ben Simmons is how we're going to refer to him on this show from now on. I know some people tried to make not saying Carson Wentz a thing. Was that Ross Tucker that tried that? We kind of have to mention him. But Ben Simmons will from now on be referred to as Instagram model Ben Simmons. That's how he'll be referred to as. Oh, I will also accept NBA Player of the Month for the month of August. That's how we'll also refer to Ben Simmons. That's how we'll refer to him. Okay. Taylor's checking in. Good morning, Taylor. Dan, hello again. April, what's happening? April, he's always on his phone. He has no excuse not to return messages. It's a good point, April. April, what a D-bag. I love it. I don't disagree. Mally, I think if he can't hit a free throw, I'm gonna let fix his trade value. I think I know what you're saying there. Fix, Ben is a generational talent. Dak, God bless you. Matt is checking in. It's your job to play your agreed upon contract, pal. Matt, I agree. Matt, I love a pal, by the way. You feel free to throw in pal at any time for two reasons. One, the sardonic tone that comes from it. I love it. And then the other is it just reminds me of John McClane. Welcome to the party, pal. That kind of thing on Die Hard. It's great. Marc, you're not keeping in mind that Ben doesn't give a damn. It isn't his job. Yeah, he doesn't have a job. Instagram may be considered his only job. Yeah, that's it, Dan. Instagram model Ben Simmons. Dante's in. Ben needs to go. Rick Dan loves Dan's facts. Alex says this channel should have over 100,000 subscribers. Hey, Alex, thank you. I agree. You know what? We're getting there. What are we at right now? A little over 1,200. Let's keep partying, folks. Gabe, done with that fool. I think we're most of us are done with that fool. Thomas is checking in. He's like Carson Wentz. Thomas, you're not far off. Don Vito, Ben Simmons, Nolan Patrick, two wasted talents. I still like Nolan Patrick. Nolan Patrick to me it was a bad mix with Elaine Vigneault. And that he also had a concussion, so he's a little bit of a different. I don't put the two together. I understand wasted talent in terms of time here in Philadelphia, but Ben Simmons is the guy I'll always hold a grudge to. I'll say that. Dan, what does Jason Avant, Michael Quinton, Marc Farzetta, Jesus, Tom Hanks, and Peter Pan all have in common? They can't stand Ben Simmons. I like that, Dan. That's a good one. Andre, Ben Simmons, a.k.a. Carson Wentz Jr., two crybabies. I would see that to me is the better association, those two guys. It's a better association is putting those two guys together, I think. Positive Philly, I'm going to get back to you in a second. You're the comment that I need to get into, and I wasn't sure if it was public yet, but we'll get into it. Richard Simmons equal to or greater than Ben Simmons. Rick, what's going on? Sky Motor Cars, what's happening? Gabe's back. What's up? Ronald, what's going on? Ronald. Luigi, we'll get you a weather girl. Let's see. A new podcast of a Q&A, I think comes out no, it's not today. It might be tomorrow. But it comes out weekly. Make sure you just subscribe to Inside the Birds podcast and make sure you follow it there. Inside the Birds chiming in. What's up, fellas? A lot of good stuff in here. It's so hard to choose. Sealski shoots better than Simmons. You're not far off. Cody, what's happening? Welcome to the chat. Brett, welcome to the chat as well. Dan, I don't even know what that means. Loving the blue shirt, Mark. Reminds me of the ocean, which reminds me Ben Simmons' lack of shooting. I find it funny. Biggest Phillies. Cody saying, worst part about Sirianni's outfit, he's wearing the biggest nerd Phillies hat ever. Was it a nerdy Phillies hat? Let's just take one more.
No, I'm in every quarterback.
The white around the sign is kind of weird. Yeah, it's not a bad point. It's not a bad point. Thanks to everyone that checked in. Julian, thanks for checking in. Appreciate you guys. Our morning rush segment is going to be a little bit different. I'm gonna call an audible on the show. I got a call last night, or a text message, because who calls anybody anymore? But I got a text message from a guy that we both worked for free at WIP for a number of years. Let's just put it that way. And that's not a complaint, by the way. But we're both getting our what do you call it? Paying our dues at the same time. Interned, if you will. And if you remember, there was a guy named Intern Virgin Rob, who worked on the overnight with Big Daddy Graham years ago. And I'm talking, this is probably 2005, 2006, when I was just coming up in the business. And my first regular gig was working as Big Daddy Graham's producer in the overnight at WIP. And I had 3 nights a week. Me and a guy named Terrence Rothmiller, who we later found out actually played basketball. We played basketball against each other because Terrence played at West Catholic, where Big Daddy went. And anyway, we would all talk about Catholic League basketball, whatever. The three of us really hit it off. And I ended up becoming Big Daddy's producer for 3 nights a week. And that was like my first regular radio gig. And I became really close with Big Daddy. And Big Daddy's been a close friend of mine for since then, 15 years, 16 years going on. Big Daddy, as a lot of you know, has fallen on hard times health-wise. And I got the text message last night from Intern Virgin Rob that Big Daddy passed away. And we had stayed in touch, even though I haven't been at WIP for about 3 years now. And I saw something that reminded me of him, or I saw he was doing something because his daughter Ava, his awesome daughter Ava, posted something about him. I know they were at the Sixers game back in May, I believe it was, and I went back and forth with them. I was just happy to see him out, and I was texting with him. And I just want to let you guys know, if you haven't seen it already. And I didn't want to say anything to start the show because I didn't know what was out yet, and I didn't know what the family wanted out yet. So, I didn't want to just reach out because I'm sure they were getting bombarded and all that. But I wanted to make sure I acknowledged it on this show, and tomorrow we'll have a special tribute to Big Daddy. One of my favorite stories of him and I, and how it ended up having a lasting effect on our relationship. So my condolences to the Gadanis family, Eddie Gadanis, Big Daddy Graham, as most of you know him. And I love the man. And I had a lot of fun working with him over the years. And he's going to be a guy that is one of those guys that I'm going to look to my phone to text. And obviously I won't be able to do that, but just a great guy. And I wanted to make sure I acknowledged him on the show today. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Jim Hyden produced the program. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment Production. I'm Marc Farzetta here at the Steven Singer Studios. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Take it easy.